Hello everyone, Michaela is back here with a special Tuesday edition of And All the Things. It is really exciting to be here today. We have a really special guest. Her name is Mia Clarke. She is a social media health and wellness influencer. She is new to my world and oh my gosh, am I impressed? And I think you will be too. So let's go ahead and check her out. Hi Mia,
Hi,
how are you?
good. How are you?
I am doing great, thank you. I appreciate you joining me today.
Of course.
Um, so here's what happened. I'm at the coffee shop a week ago, having a call actually with my coach because coaches need coaches. And I met this wonderful young couple and was completely smitten and inspired by Mia. So here she is today. I met,
Hello.
hi, I met Mia very casually. We talked about what I do a little bit. She brought up what she did a little bit. And I was like, wait, you do what? So can you tell me, because we have with us the olive oil queen, tell me what that means and how you identify with that.
I was always passionate about gut health since I was diagnosed with IBS at a pretty young age. I was 15. Nothing was really working in terms of what I was being prescribed, so I decided to research on my own. And eventually I went to a homeopathic doctor and she told me to start drinking olive oil. And that just like changed the game for me. It really like that's when I really truly started healing and I started to understand more about like the process behind growing food, the history of
Mhm.
food, what it means, the people involved, like traditional diets and so I like to brand myself as the olive oil queen just because it means a lot
I
to
love
me.
it.
So yeah.
I love it. What is it about olive oil that had so much influence over gut health?
So for me, I ended up getting an x-ray and I was like really, really backed up. And so the
Mhm.
olive oil is supposed to soothe your intestinal tract and it
Mhm.
soothes your gut and it helps your food digest. When your food digests, it helps like absorb the nutrients more. It has antioxidants and polyphenols, so it's great for inflammation. If like you
Right.
ate poorly as a child and you have like extreme inflammation, if you start consuming like high quality olive oil, it helps combat all of that.
That's
Yeah,
incredible. So if I just started taking, I see you on Instagram, it's just a little shot, right? Like
yeah,
an
yeah.
ounce
Yeah,
or
so when I first started drinking olive oil, I was just pouring it on top of my foods because that's what my
okay.
nutritionist told me to do. So I would do that for like every meal pretty much. But now that I'm more healed, I don't need as much of it. So yeah, I just take like a little shot in the morning, and that helps with bile release, inflammation. It tastes
That's
really good to
incredible.
me.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. And I have to imagine because I know a little bit about olive oil and it's should be in a glass bottle away from direct sunlight. What are some other things that people can do, right? Because as a coach, I can't just say go be fabulous without giving some tips and tricks and how to get there.
Right.
So what do we need to look at for buying a good bottle of olive oil?
So this is really difficult because the olive oil industry is really saturated now. So it's hard to find like truly good extra virgin olive
Hmm.
oil. Um, you want to look for single origin. That's one of the things that people overlook all the time because single origin means it comes from one
Cool.
place. So you get all of the flavor notes from that particular olive variety,
Hmm.
and the one like that farm cares for it in a certain way, and you get all of
Hmm.
those benefits versus like a bunch of different ones
Like a
blended
random
together.
collection.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one that's really overlooked, and you want to get extra virgin in a glass bottle. You want to look for a harvest date on the back of the
Okay.
bottle. The fresher, the better. Olives are a fruit, so it's like a fruit juice. You want it
Right.
the freshest possible.
I haven't thought
Um,
about it like that. I've seen them on their trees and all the things, but I haven't thought about olives as a fruit.
yeah. And like some bottles will say like Italian olive oil, but then you look on the back and it's like olives from Italy, Greece, Spain, Turkey. So
Hmm.
basically they're just
It was
throwing
bottled in
together.
Italy. Yeah.
Right. So,
Interesting. That's good tips. Or those are good tips. So, so the olive oil queen is really cool. I love that part of you, and I love how you're using your story, something that was a pain point, a tolerance for you, and turning it into something good for other people. But I know you didn't just wake up that way because, you were following this course of following the science. And so for our listeners, we have another fun tie together, and we are both from Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I spent 14 years in college a couple times there, and Mia grew up there. So it's great to be able to see you in that environment in my mind. She went to a high school that I taught in years and years and years
So
ago.
wild.
It's so wild. And I love it. It just makes me feel so right about this because the goal of my little mini series here, the question I'm asking is, how do you use your gift to grow, change, and serve? And I see you doing that abundantly. So can you walk us through? So you go to the doctor, you get the olive oil, things start feeling better, but you're still on a science path, right? And if I'm
Right.
correct, it was a neuroscience degree from University of
Yes.
Miami. So we're not talking about like a small change in course, right? That's a hard left, or maybe
Yeah.
even a complete 180. I don't know.
Yeah.
How did that go?
So, yeah, I originally went to the University of Miami to study neuroscience. I thought I wanted to go to med school or go into research or something. I really enjoyed
Right.
like math and all of this, but
Which
I
is
and
apparent when you're talking about all the things with olive oil and the big words that I probably can't remember, but I'll go back and read them later.
yeah. So I really enjoy like understanding things. Like that's something
Hmm.
that's always been really important to me. And so for a
Right.
while, science did that for me. But I've also been a person that's very like intuitive and creative.
Hmm.
And especially like my family and my mom's mom, the way that they influenced me was to be like very intuitive and express yourself and all that. So I had like
I
both of
love
these
it.
sides of me. And what really changed for me was when I went to study abroad in Spain because I just started learning in a completely different way. I was learning through experience,
Hmm.
I was practicing language, I was like conversating with people all the time and just learning
Right.
from people. And so something just like clicked in my brain that was like, wow, like there's so much more to learning and understanding
Yep.
things than just science. So I
Hmm.
took a gap semester after that to just kind of figure things out and let things marinate. It was during COVID. I was just,
Right. Did your
not.
parents understand that? Like, did they know the frame of mind you were coming from for the gap year?
Yeah, I mean, they trusted me and like my
Good.
decisions, so I was really fortunate to not really have pushback
Hmm.
in that. But yeah, so then I switched my major to global health studies, not because I was interested in global health, but because it was like more well-rounded in terms of the
Right.
courses I was taking, and it allowed me to focus less on studying because it was kind of like the classes were easier, so I was
Hmm.
able to focus more on socialization, learning from people,
Right.
and doing things
Which
that
is
actually.
its own kind of hard. And a lot
Yeah,
of people can't necessarily switch and do both because to be able to interpret people and culture and all the variables and make sense of it is not without effort, right? But it
yeah,
sounds like it just was really in line with, like you said, the creative and intuitive part that wanted people to be well, right?
yeah,
I love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay, so you go to Spain, you take your gap year, you start working things out. Was it a shift for you to go from being what I imagine to be the smart daughter who would be one day a neuroscientist and make us all very proud, even though I'm hearing a lot of my parents encouraged me to go where I wanted to go. So I'm not saying that they pressured you to that, but anytime we shift an identity, we have to rebuild a new one. What was that like? Was that smooth, bumpy? How did you get there?
Yeah, that was definitely something I had to deal with because like once I started studying neuroscience, I was just like praised for that, like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, my
Well,
granddaughter
because
studies
it's a big deal for sure.
yeah,
Like, no small
yeah.
feat.
My daughter's moving to Miami to study
Right.
neuroscience, like I had that narrative and like that pressure, and it wasn't
Yep.
really like from my family and stuff, it wasn't intentional, like obviously
Mm-hmm.
they were proud, but for me, it was kind of more of like an internal thing of like, oh, I have to live up to this, like I'm the smart daughter, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I started to just experience a lot of different things, especially
Mm-hmm.
during my gap semester. I went and volunteered on a farm. I lived in Washington, D.C.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so I talked to a lot of doctors. I shadowed some doctors. I like spent some time with my homeopathic nutritionist who introduced me to olive oil, just talking to her, like,
Right.
there, I was really motivated by learning through people at that point. And so I realized, like, I could be successful and help a lot of people without being a
Right.
neuroscientist or a neurosurgeon or whatever.
Right.
And so seeing that and experiencing that, like, encouraged me and allowed me to, like, trust what was going to happen.
And I love that because as a 42-year-old, one of my comments to you when we talked a week ago on the phone, whenever it was, wow, I wish my 22-year-old self could have this conversation today. I don't know that I would have changed anything. I love the trajectory that my life has taken me on. But there's a different knowing to, I know that I'm going to bring my gift and I'm going to use it for other people, but it's also going to make me happy because I was, I wasn't going for neuroscience, but I was the good kid. I was the smart kid. I was the organized and responsible one. I'm the one, the people pleaser, all those different identities that were given to me as gifts. They're all great things, but they became limiting, right? And I
Yeah.
wasn't sure how to step out of that. So do you find yourself, do people ask you like, how do I do that too? Or do you find yourself coaching your peers or offering suggestions? Or do you hear people in your network, in your demographic saying, I don't want to be where I am. How do I get out? Or how do I shift?
Yeah, but I've learned that I can't really be, like, forceful in those situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the most important things to do is listen, and the other important thing to do is lead by example. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I want to help a lot of people, and I see them struggling and see them stuck, whether they realize and admit it or not.
Yep.
Um, but the best thing that you can do is listen, maybe give a little bit of advice, and then lead by example, and hopefully, like, people will figure it out. But
Mm-hmm.
it takes some people more time than others. So
Agreed. And it's important that we watch people like you find passion, find something meaningful to you, and make it a lifestyle that gives to you, gives back. Because when we have more of that, we have happier people and a more sustainable culture because we're working together for it.
right.
When you were talking about being in Spain and learning with people and from people and being on a farm and in different environments, it's like that's the tribal community. We're supposed to say, oh, my stomach hurts, and the elders are meant to get together and chit chat about what's wrong with us. Take this herb, try that. And we're
Right.
at a place now where it's problem solution, right? I have a
Mm-hmm.
stomach issue, here's a pill. I have a mental health issue, here's a pill. And what I see you doing is bridging the gap because that's neuroscience and your intuition, right? My gut hurts, I'm feeling that. And we don't do enough of the in-between stuff. And I love that you're taking a part of who you really identified with in the past, the neuroscience part, the part that, I mean, let's be real, our brain is the thing, right?
Yeah.
And if we don't take care of it, it kind of gives up on us. And then what? And we all know, if we don't know, maybe we should talk about, but the gut brain connection is legit and intense. And if we're
Yeah.
not taking care, if we're only dealing with the symptom, not the root cause, we'll never get there.
Right.
Which I think is just incredible to watch you do that because I've seen you on Instagram. I'm watching you all the time now. And it's every day you're just showing people this is how you live this way. And you're not saying it has to be. I respect that so much. You don't have to do this. This is just a great way.
Yeah.
And that's very much what I say to the people I work with in coaching. And believe me, I would love to help coach 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds that are struggling to, like, I feel something inside and I want to let it out, but I'm not that person and I don't know how, because I don't think we have enough of that. But that's what we do. What's the problem? What have you tried? And what else out there can you try? Because
Yeah.
if we limit our beliefs to, I can't change this without a pill, or I can't be this without, sacrificing everything, then we stay stuck.
Yeah.
And then we end up like your gut, and now we hurt,
Yeah.
right? So what is okay, so I'm going to age myself again, right? I was like, okay, so I'm the 42-year-old figuring out Instagram. How do you job title yourself, right? And I had to ask you that question. So can you tell us about that?
So I job title myself as a social media health influencer.
I love
Um,
it.
I'm mainly on Instagram, but I'm also on TikTok, and this is like what I spend most of my time on. It's what I'm most passionate about,
Hmm.
how I help the most people. So yeah.
I love it. And how do you choose like your sponsors? Is that the right word? How do you, because I can see where in a growing world where social media and the influence of it is can be pervasive. How
Yeah.
do you keep yourself real? What's your true north when you have those conversations with like the swimsuit brand that I saw?
Yeah.
How do you figure out who's a good match for you?
Yeah, it's really difficult because a lot of people reach out and email with offers, and
Hmm.
some people want to pay you, but you don't really support their product, so you have to like figure out what's more important. And
Right.
luckily, I'm in a position where I don't have to like worry too much about like
Hmm.
financials, so I'm able to promote like what I truly believe in.
That's great.
Um, and so having conversations with the people is super important. Like, honestly, Instagram aesthetic is super important for me because that
Hmm.
just like gives it's like a window into that person's like soul kind of and their intuition and creativity, and like that really
I love
inspires
it.
me.
What do you think
Um,
yours says about you? Or,
I hope it says that I like care about nature and food
hmm.
and like simple things, but
Hmm.
and just like making the most out of life in general.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I see it's very simple. It's not a lot of flash and flare. I mean, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong. But it's real and it's clear and focused and you're very available, like you're very personal. And I watch it. I watched, there was something about mascara the other day and I'm watching it going, oh gosh, like what do I
yeah.
do? Right. And then I said, no, 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 slow down, lady. Like it's okay to learn new things. And I never once felt like judgy because I'm not using better mascara or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So you're hitting the nail on the head because I feel safe there and I'm
Good.
learning all of it. What would you say to, I don't know, maybe a 42-year-old lady who really does like mascara? How would you swap that out? Like, how do we start making baby steps towards healthier products and decisions and are really how we perceive ourselves?
Yeah, I think that you really have to decide like what's more important to you, like the benefits
Hmm.
you get from putting it on and feeling good
Hmm.
and all of that versus like do you care about like health and every single like how
Yeah.
perfect do you want to be? How, um
Hmm.
obviously not everyone's no one's perfect
Right.
and we have to be able to pick and choose our vices pretty much.
Right.
And
And
everyone has something, so
and that's so true of anything, right? What's important? Because all of those things are important to me, but I also hadn't really thought too terribly much about my mascara, right?
yeah.
So number one, friends, it's baby steps, right? Change doesn't happen overnight. It's why do we do the things we do? It's processing through, what am I doing this because I like the way I look, or am I doing this because I want other people to look at me and say, oh, she looks great.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
you
I
know,
think people just get into a routine and like things become very normal.
yep.
And so like my job is to make people aware of these things and get people to think about them and
I love
like
it.
but it's not to say like don't use mascara. It's just
Hmm.
like here's a food for thought. Maybe you
Right.
should reconsider. Maybe you're like, "Oh, I know this, but it's
I
still
love
worth
it.
it to me."
Yep.
So I think it's just trying to make people more aware because everything is so normalized that's like harmful for us, and a lot of
Hmm.
people just don't know. Like you said, you didn't even
Right.
think about it. So yeah.
Right. And I consider myself a conscious person. I mean, I usually buy good products from companies that say they source and don't test on animals and are clean, but it's still, are they really? Because
Right.
marketing is a gnarly business.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe next time you see me I may or may not have mascara on, who knows. But I really do hope it is again soon. I really enjoy chatting with you. I think it is so important from my position as a coach, as a mom, as a reformed peacemaker and people pleaser. It's okay to speak your truth into the world and to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm curious about, this is what's important to me, and then work towards making those steps. And I think for Mia and I to say, you don't have to do it alone. That's really what we're here trying to say. You can make change, you can grow, you can change and serve the world, and you don't have to abandon what you think is true today, but you got to take steps towards finding a new truth tomorrow.
Yes.
So, Mia, I really love the light you bring to the world. I very much appreciate being a part of it now and getting to learn from you and, you know, hopefully connecting again. So maybe we'll check back in another time. But
Yeah,
whatever
absolutely.
you have today, I hope it's fabulous. And if you want to tell everybody where to find you or a parting thought or request, you go right ahead.
You can find me on Instagram at the Olive Oil Queen, and I just want to inspire beauty in everyone's life. Find some sort of beauty and hold on to that, and make the effort to make that a part of your daily life.
I love it. Thank you so much. And to the rest of you, go be so fabulous the world can't stand it. Mia, have an awesome day, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds
All
good.
right.
Bye.
Take care.